Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 1. I'll do that again because I didn't really say the word episode. Just said episode.
Yeah.
I really missed the P. You gotta have that plosive, or it just doesn't really work. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 192 of the TheSixthAxis podcast. As per usual, I am your host, Kris. Joining me this week is a man refusing to wear a face mask, Kev Adsets. Hello, Kev.
Hi there.
You are refusing to wear a face mask.
That's true. Well, I think the listeners would be deeply upset to know that something so greatly entertaining was occurring and they weren't able to participate or indeed spectate.
I'm kind of glad you haven't gone for webcam this week. Because Tough Cub moaned at me earlier for leaving in too much stuff that was jokes about stuff on webcam because people can't see it.
It feels a little exclusive, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's why I like it.
When we start doing the podcast in video format for YouTube, then, you know.
But that's just going to be difficult, really, because then I've got to edit more stuff and it's be a whole thing, Kev.
Yeah. But somebody could animate it.
Yeah, you can.
Like the Ricky Gervais podcast.
If people want to animate it, I'm fine with that. They can animate
Any
it all they
animators
like.
listening?
Yeah,
fancy animating a 2-hour podcast every week? You're welcome.
Also with us is a man who's just been called in for his tea by his mum. It's Dave Irwin. Say hello, Dave.
Hello.
Dave, come and get your dinner.
Shut up, Mum.
Something like that, I imagine.
Oh, jokes that people don't understand. Right, Twitter hellos, that's the bit we do next. Twitter hellos, people have been saying hello on the Twitter. Oliver Hampson. It's an odd. Okay. It's fine. It's not odd, it's just a surname I haven't seen before.
Judgmental.
Well, Hampton is a normal kind of one you'd expect, but not Hampson. Son of Hamp. But he says he's a long-term reader of the TheSixthAxis and a big fan of the podcast. He just wanted to say hi. How nice. That's lovely.
Hi. Oliver? Tom? What was his name?
Oliver Hampson.
Oliver. For some reason, Tom suddenly...
not Tom. No, his name's not Tom at all.
Well, thanks for listening. Glad you're enjoying it so far. Hopefully we can continue to impress you throughout the next hour and a half.
Also, Mr. Bell Teacher says hello.
Hello,
and
sir.
also, he's got some questions.
Sorry. Hello, Mr. Bell.
Teacher.
That's what you have to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's when you... Yeah. Good. Next.
Kevling says hello.
All right, mate. Yeah, how's it going? It's not an interactivity thing, is it?
No. Adam Guest says hello.
Good to hear from you,
Hello.
Adam.
The therapist gamer says hello.
Oh, hi there.
And of course, Giana says hello. No, he says hello.
Hello.
It's just unusual to stress the L if you're going for a lengthened hello.
Oh, I thought he was stressing the E from your reading of it.
No, it's because it's
hello.
Yeah, so it's hello.
Maybe it's hello.
Yeah, that's kind of better.
Hello.
I was just kind of struggling on where to put the stress in it. It's not easy.
It's tricky on a consonant for sure.
Yeah, tricky to stress that. Anyway, that is that done. So it's time for the news. News.
What's in the news this week?
Some stuff in Destiny is changing. I'm just going to read this statement from Tef because I asked him and he was like, here's some stuff. He says, this week you can just say they're making the strike missions more flexible and more interesting. With
You don't have
rooms
to
of
do that
enemies
this week,
that...
you can just say.
No, I'm leaving that. With rooms of enemies that are a little bit randomised and bosses that have more varied attack patterns. As soon as you get into all the other changes, it gets really bloody dull, but can be summed up by saying it's becoming a more traditional MMORPG, and that they're moving people on from the most overpowered guns by rebalancing and obsolescence. And then obsolescence became the word of the day, I believe.
Good.
Tough Cup has decreed words of the day recently, and this was the word of the day. But it is interesting. They're kind of turning it into a more MMORPG, kind of traditional MMORPG route than what it is currently. Because 'Cause it didn't really feel like that's what they were going for.
Yeah, and also
at
that
launch.
felt like a good thing to separate it.
Yeah,
because
because kind of like MMORPG is a little bit dead, you know?
It's not. I mean, that's the problem. Is it's super saturated? Like,
No, but
there's a lot
I
of
mean-
different like games out there. So you've got like the World of Warcrafts, you've got Guild Wars, all sorts of things, and the fact that Destiny is tapping into that a little bit now is expected, to be honest, because it did look like, even from an outsider's point of view, it did look like that it was heading in that sort of direction.
Sure.
I mean, it's interesting because it'll probably be the best looking MMORPG.
Oh.
Can we just call them MMOs? Cause
Yeah, MMO is fine.
RPGs,
Yeah.
out there, because it wasn't, it didn't start life that way. So it's interesting
It's
from that
interesting.
perspective.
But what I mean when I say they're dead is like, obviously WoW is big, and Guild Wars 2 is reasonably big, and
RuneScape,
Final Fantasy 14 I think seems to be doing reasonably well. But there's
RuneScape's still a pretty big deal.
Doing well.
But there's not like, although the market is saturated, as you say, like
it's saturated with turds.
Yeah, it's saturated with stuff that's no one's playing. Like if you look at the number of games that people are playing versus the number of games out there, it does seem like a pretty dead kind of sector. And also the games that people are playing, it's not new people coming in; it's entrenched players.
Right.
Like WoW is, I can't imagine WoW is getting a huge number of new sign-ups every month. It's just like people have been playing WoW for 5 years now, and they're like, I can't stop. I'm invested at this point.
It's funny you should say that, actually, because every time there's a new expansion, the WoW subscriptions peak in troughs. So lots of people join immediately to get on the new expansion buzz, and then after about a month or so, the numbers trickle back down to what they were. So
so they've got a very established and loyal core player base, but I just don't see them having much beyond. I mean, they've definitely got enough to keep them going and keep funding.
I don't think they're going to have any
indefinitely.
financial troubles anytime soon.
No.
Definitely not.
But yeah, I find that interesting that
Even if they do things like watch Kung Fu Panda and then go, hey, we should have Kung Fu Pandas, and then just do that, and then everyone's fine with it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty awesime, to be fair.
The Mists
They
of
were an
Pandaria
established
or
race, I
whatever.
think.
Yeah, the
Like
Pandarians
before
were.
Kung Fu Panda.
The Pandarians were in there because they.
Maybe I've got the source materials the wrong way around. Maybe Kung Fu Panda looked at that and went, yeah, let's just do
Well, the thing is, the Pandarians were in there. At least I believe so. But then they kind of. They didn't come into the game until after Kung Fu Panda was out. And I think they got reworked into a more Kung Fu mold as well.
Yeah, I think they were just like panda people rather than martial artists. So there's possibly a bit of influence either way. But more likely they have nothing to do with each other.
No.
Shameless rip-offs of each other. That's what they are.
But I was always a little bit
They
disappointed.
both came first.
Because I played. Because the Pandas are in Defense of the Ancients, I believe. And I was always just saddened whenever my friends were like, oh, you can play WoW. Oh, I can play as the panda. They like the panda. No, you can't play as the panda. Oh, I don't really want to play now. You can be a skeleton man. That's not a panda.
Spooky skeleton man. Hey, we're not even talking about WoW. We're talking about the Destiny.
Yeah, I know. So they're turning it into more like an MMO. I think that's probably at this point in its life is the way to go. It'll just be interesting to see if it does maintain the people it's got now, because it's kind of it seems to really. Well, I mean, we were talking to Vicky last week. He doesn't even really seem to like Destiny very much.
She just can't stop.
It's just like, but I play it.
I have to agree with her. After about a month of playing that game, I was so bored by the lack of progression. But I mean, it didn't help that I was playing on Xbox.
But the difference is, are you still playing it?
No,
she is still playing it.
Oh, she's still oh, Christ.
Yeah, like every day.
Yeah, like that's the only game she plays.
Stockholm syndrome, right there.
Yeah, exactly. We talked to her last week. He was like, "Oh, so I assume you like Destiny." He was like, "I'm not sure that's what I would say. I just play a lot of Destiny, and that seems concerning."
I think it's more or less safe to say I've stopped playing Destiny now. There was, for a time I was hooked on it, but I
never really started.
I wasn't as hooked as all the people who managed to get to level 30, because I never got there. I got to 28, and then the first expansion came out, and I dabbled in that, and then the second expansion came out, and I dabbled a lot less. in that.
See, the problem is because I never started. I feel that although I know you can like when the Taken King expansion comes out, you'll be able to boost yourself up to like the top level and stuff, or like level 20 or whatever, so you can get sort of the late game content. But and someone was saying that to me, I was like, but the point is, I'm not gonna have the skill level of a player who has been playing long enough to be that.
That's a weird thing that you can do that. Like, I don't agree with that as a thing.
You can do that in WoW as well. I think normally when the expansions come out, you can normally boost the character.
Well, get me straight up to the where the big boys start playing, and then after that,
you can't boost to max level, but you can boost to a level that is like
20's where you unlock like colors for your armor and like all of the.
Basically, I think it boosts you to a level where you can play the content.
Well, 20 is where you stop leveling up through XP and start leveling up through equipment instead. So that makes sense.
That does make sense. Yes, they basically are
through that light system. I think it was called.
Yes. Yeah, so they are basically maxing your XP out and then just going, go on then, go get some. Cool,
you're right. Like
get some
you
swag.
don't have an equal correlation with your actual skill.
Yeah,
you're still a massive noob at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I still probably will be shit. Like,
but then I'm still terrible, and I played it the whole way through, all the way up to level 28, and I still suck at the game. So I mean, that was one of my big deciding factors to stop playing, was because every time I played,
I'm not very good at this.
I just got quite upset about how everyone was much better than me.
I do like that. It's just that realization. You were sitting there one day, just going, maybe it might not be for me.
I think we're done here, Destiny.
Yeah, I imagine that was exactly how you thought about it as well.
Yeah.
Or just said it out loud to the PS4.
Exactly. It's not you, Destiny. You're great. It's me. You know, I suck at this game.
At playing you.
At playing you. It's just not working out.
But I wish I was better. Also in the news this week, PlayStation Plus September stuff was announced. The reason we will talk about this is we had the first game to be selected via public vote.
Did you vote?
I didn't vote.
I voted.
Dave, did you vote? I'm sorry, I'm terrible at democracy.
Yeah, you are.
So Grow Home was the game that won.
Yeah. If it was
the wrong choice.
That was my second choice, Grow Home. I voted for Zombie Vikings because it was a much needed couch multiplayer game. And it was made by the guys who made Ticket to the Man. And that was a brilliant game. So
I do like couch multiplayer. We need more couch multiplayer titles.
Exactly. This generation, there's basically none.
I agree that basically I had it in the order of Armello in first because it's a game you can play presumably with friends. I'm not actually sure if it has local multiplayer or not, but it's basically a board game in a video game, which you don't see much of these days.
No, that's cool.
And
although I do remember Settlers of Catan on Xbox 360 was pretty good.
That was a good port of that game, actually. Really, really good port. Really good starting point as well. But
all about Longest
out
Road.
of the other two, I would have said Zombie Vikings as well. In all honesty, I think Grow Home was definitely the wrong choice. If anything, it's just put Ubisoft's ego through the roof.
I do have to say it really correlates with the choice Britain made in this year's general election. Just the wrong choice.
Oh, revealing your political alignment.
Exactly. Mate, you don't know which way. Maybe I feel the Conservatives should have won with a larger majority.
Or maybe you feel as if nobody should be voting at all.
Also, yeah, that's my true stance.
That was what you've demonstrated in this particular
my true stance is I believe that I should just be allowed to rule, pretty much, and we should be a dictatorship with me just overseeing everything.
So who's first against the wall when your revolution comes?
No one. I am a benevolent dictator.
In many ways, I think that's what this country needs.
Yeah.
Just like someone who tells everyone what to do, but knows what to do the most, and which is the best that makes everyone happy, and we can all live in a utopia.
Also coming this week, this month, next month to PlayStation Plus. Was Super Time Force Ultra on PS4 and PS Vita, which I'm quite excited to play. It looks kind of cool.
I played that game on the Xbox One, and I feel that that's a big treat and a hugely overlooked game, especially by some of the comments I've seen about a lot of the retro style platformers and stuff that have been coming up on PlayStation Plus. Give this one a try. It's not what you think it is.
Because it looks kind of cool, and also it has a really good name.
What is it again?
Super Time Force Ultra.
Super Time Force Ultra.
That's a good name, right?
Very good.
Also getting Teslagrad on PS4 and PS3, which just makes me sad because it makes me think of Stalingrad. And
It's got Nikola Tesla.
Nikola Tesla's good, but I don't want to think about Stalingrad. Not good.
They've got nothing to do with each other. So
it's
I don't know.
It's got grad in it.
Do graduations also make you think of that? Right.
Twisted Metal on PS3. La Mulana, I don't know how to pronounce that. La Mulana EX on PS Vita. And Zeo Drifter on PS4 and PS Vita. I don't know anything about those other games.
No, me neither.
But it's still cool to get all this stuff. It's a pretty good selection, actually, I think. But there's this interesting comparison because we also had, and it was a day later, the Games with Gold for September were announced. And we had the Dear God, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. These are the Xbox One games. And on the 360, Battle Station Specific and Crisis Free. And there was an interesting discussion about which of these is better value. Is Games with Gold giving you more for your money with these like big AAA titles? You've got like Tomb Raider Definitive Edition and Crisis Free are big games. And I mean, it had.
But then Tomb Raider has been on PS Plus as well for free.
On PS3, not the next gen version.
That is very true.
But it also had MGS5 Ground Zeroes on it, and also Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light that were available last month, and they're the ones that are coming off in September.
Very good.
And it's kind of this comparison that people are making of which do you think is better value. Now, the interesting thing here is because I think perception-wise, Games with Gold seems like it's better value, I would argue.
It's certainly got the more recognised brands, so you've got Tomb Raider and Crisis in there.
And also, Tomb Raider and Crisis are bigger games than the games that are on PS Plus. Not necessarily better.
Yeah, for me, that's the negative. Like, you know what my game time is like. It's ridiculous. So, like, the little indie type games that PlayStation offers are actually better for me because I can just dip in and go, yeah, that was pretty cool. Whereas if it's like, okay, well, I'm sort of still trying to play The Witcher, so if I get Tomb Raider, then where does that leave me? You know?
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, IGN did a breakdown, and they've actually got a breakdown for every month, and you can find it on their site. But it's got the PlayStation Plus games for that month, and the Games with Gold one. And what they do is they price every game and then total up the total retail value. And September's PlayStation Plus is worth basically $88, and the Games with Gold is worth about $90.
That's interesting.
It's interesting that they actually do come out so close because PlayStation Plus is giving you more games. I think that's the question of, would you rather have more games because you are
do you pay the same amount for both services?
I think they're about the same, right?
I don't know what the Microsoft one is.
Not entirely sure about that.
I think they are. I could look it up.
I know there's been a bit of a pricing difference.
Yeah, but I don't think it's like a huge difference. I don't think it's like Gold is £100 a year or something. You know, I think it's.
Oh no! It's definitely not £100.
I think it might be like maybe £10 in it or something a year. But what's interesting is that you've got 1, 2. So you've got 3 games on PS4.
£40 a year.
And that's
which I believe is the same as
it's about the same, right? It's £40 a year on Plus, or is it 35?
This is $39.99 for 12 months, or $5.99 per month if you want to do a rolling.
No, sorry, on PlayStation Plus. I mean, PlayStation Plus is £40, I think. Please. I think it's either 35 or 40, one or two. But yeah, so you've got 4 games here on 3 games on PS4, 2 games on PS3. And 3 games on Vita. So whereas some of those are available on 2 platforms, obviously with cross-buy, except kind of stuff that you're getting in Plus now, which is cool. But on Gold, you've got like 2 on Xbox One and 2 on the Xbox 360. I guess it just depends. Do you want that kind of variety where you're getting more stuff, particularly if you've got all of the Sony platforms?
I think that's the key thing, actually, with regards to the value of PlayStation Plus, is whether or not you have all three of those systems. Because if you only have... I mean, the fact that a lot of games are cross-buy is a big boon, because otherwise not everyone has access to those games. But if there's one game on the list that you can't play because you don't have that system, so... I think one of the games this month...
It's La Mulana EX is only on Vita and Twisted Metal is only on PS3.
Exactly. So if you only have a PS4, that's it. That's 2 games completely wiped out.
And I mean,
whereas games with gold...
But games with gold, like 2 of those games... So the Dear God and Tomb Raider are only on Xbox One.
Yeah.
And Battle Stations and Crisis 3 are only on Xbox 360.
Yes, but the backwards compatibility thing kicks in.
That might do. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it starts this month.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that will work.
Well, I can tell you as soon as it goes live. Actually,
that would be interesting to see with gold. Like, will games with gold, games you have got Fire games with gold that were only on Xbox 360, will those then work? Assuming they've got the backwards compatibility enabled, obviously.
I think they announced at Gamescom that they were going to do that. So
I might have missed that, but that's cool if they are. Because that does then kind of double up effectively. But I think the difference I would say there as well is, like, here on Games with Gold, you're getting a big game on Xbox One in Tomb Raider and a big game on Xbox 360 in terms of Crisis 3. Like, those are big titles. It doesn't really feel that way, although you're getting more and there's that variety of stuff. Like, Twisted Metal's a reasonably big game, but it's still not... I wouldn't put that as a AAA game, really.
It was heavily pushed by Sony at the time of launch.
Yeah, and I guess that is how you define AAA, is what its marketing budget, isn't it? Is really what AAA means, but it doesn't have that same feel, you know.
Is it not a it's not initials 3A's?
No,
3A's
that's not why. No.
For adventure, animation, and aardvarks.
You could have gone with artwork.
I got stuck on the last one there. Don't know if that was obvious.
Artwork.
You didn't think that through, did you, Kev?
No.
But no, I mean, it's maybe Twisted Metal was a AAA, but it's definitely not in the same tier of game as Crisis 3 and Tomb Raider, right? Twisted Metal is not at that same level, realistically.
I wouldn't say so, in all honesty.
No.
Certainly not Tomb Raider. Crisis 3, I mean, that was quite a poorly received game on launch anyway, especially the 360
But I think definitely in terms of perception, like Crisis is although the game might not be good. My point is not necessarily about the quality of the game, but like the perception of the game, if you see what I mean. Like, Crisis 3, I feel, is perceived as a relative, or the Crisis series at least is perceived as a big series. Whereas I don't think Twisted Metal really is, mostly because it went away for so long. But yeah, I think that's the difference, is because they've got those big titles. Like, it feels like you're getting more bang for your buck. And it definitely is a complaint about Sony that they're not having enough big games on there.
The other thing I would ask is, with regards to Tomb Raider and Crisis 3 in particular, and possibly Twisted Metal as well, the IGN comparison thing, where are they getting their prices from? Is it at the time of launch? Is it at how much they're worth today?
I think it must be today, because it's got, like, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition listed at $30. So that must be what it's on the store for today or something like that, or what you can buy it from Amazon, maybe. Let me just have a quick
Maybe it'd
look.
be interesting to look at whether or not...
Here we go. All prices are based off of their respective PlayStation or Xbox store listings at the time of offering.
Okay.
So they are, so they, when they write the article, they go and price it, which I think is reasonable. That's the correct way to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point, though. But yeah, given they are doing that, it doesn't make much difference. But I personally think both services are good. But it would be nice to see Sony maybe trying getting some bigger titles on there, really.
Because didn't they start the whole
they
AAA thing on PS4 with what was it?
They definitely
Injustice.
Yeah, that was on there, and they've also had, like, although it wasn't really a full AAA game, the Second Son First Light was on there as well.
Oh, well, the
Um,
standalone.
Yeah. And they've also had like MGS5 was on there in the past, and
Oh, but that was also on Xbox One as well.
yeah, that was recently. And I think what is it? They definitely had other big things that I've got on my PS4. But
MGS5, like the full game.
no, so
No,
Ground Zeroes.
Ground Zeroes.
Ground Zeroes is what he means.
Like,
Sorry.
is that even out?
Nearly.
No.
It's out in like a week or something, right? People are playing it because I know
Free on PS Plus.
some people have got early codes or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting. I think these two. But I think my general point is I think people would like to see more stuff on PS4 that is a bigger title, because they are starting to feel a lot. Particularly when you look at what they were offered on PS3. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Sorry, is what you got offered on PS3.
I gave my PS3 away to my mum.
Yeah.
And so now I don't have one, and so now I'm like looking kind of enviously at the PS3 list.
Yeah, exactly, because those were great. Like, the games you're getting now are still good games, and the games you got before the PS4 was out, you were getting really big games on the PS3. I know perhaps it is harder to offer that on the PS4, but Microsoft seemed to be doing some of it. Like, last month they had, the month before last they had Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That was in July. They've had what else they had on there? So it seems to be recently they've been putting bigger stuff on there. But
I think that's due to the backlash they were getting because Sony had put on AAA stuff for the PS4, and so this backlash has meant that they've decided to actually
kind of swung the other way.
Yeah, no dedicated stuff. It's all games that was actually on other platforms, so Assassin's Creed and Tomb Raider.
Yeah, I find that interesting that they aren't, and Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes in August. But that is a great point that they aren't going with any of their own stuff, which I guess maybe is because they see that as a place where they can really, it creates value if you like, because that's what you want. You want it to be there. But I think we should probably move on from this conversation because we're kind of going around in circles.
We could talk forever about this.
Yeah, and there's not really a definitive answer. Like, it depends on what you have to an extent. If you've got both, then great. But if you've only got one console, that's probably going to be the service you favour, to be honest.
Yeah, the PlayStation is the best one. PlayStation wins. PlayStation!
Exactly. The other big story this week, YouTube Gaming launched this week, which is YouTube.
And it sucks.
Does it? I haven't tried it.
Well, it sucks on Safari, at least, because that's the only browser I went on. It doesn't suck. It seems like it's very well supported. Obviously, it's got Google behind it, so it's going to be absolutely huge, regardless of what
There's
anyone
been a
thinks
bit
of
of
it.
backlash, though. I need to find the article that I saw that had this, but apparently there's something in the terms and conditions that has had a few people raising their eyebrows.
Terms and conditions?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
something
give
about
away your child.
I didn't have
the copyright
to agree to
claims.
anything when I went onto the site.
No,
today.
if you're a streamer.
Oh, I see. But what I will say is that on Safari, at least, it's super laggy. Like, the performance of the site was just shockingly bad. Like, to the point where I went, well, F this site, I'm off.
And I think the thing is that you also go consider...
To be fair, the lesson is probably don't use Safari, but I was at work, and that's my non-work browser.
Oh, I see how it is. But so Twitch has obviously been around for a while now, and I think Twitch definitely has issues with it. Like the community management tools in Twitch are not very good. It has a lot of issues with, like, you can't easily save off stuff you've done, like previous streams. It's kind of not a super easy process. There's a bunch of issues that I was reading an article this week of someone breaking down their complaints about the service, and they were all quite reasonable complaints, and they seem like things that would also be really easy for them. Not easy, but they're things that you could fix. Like, you could easily put them into your development roadmap and fix these issues, and they seem to be very slow about it. And I do wonder if Google, with this YouTube Gaming, if they're going to be able to put their might behind it to create better stuff. But on the other hand, like, the community issues that people have on Twitch sometimes, YouTube, is fucking toxic.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So there's a bit on Content ID that came out in the news recently. I'll read a direct quote. It says, Content ID scans all live streams and hangouts on air for third-party content. When Content ID identifies third-party content, a placeholder image may replace your live broadcast until Content ID no longer affects third-party content. In some cases, it may terminate your live broadcast. Live streams and hangouts on air can also be terminated if they receive a copyright strike or a community guideline strike. Please understand that a Content ID claim may interrupt your live broadcast even if you've licensed the third-party content in question. Or even
That's
if
the real catch, isn't it?
Or even if you've restricted your broadcast to a territory in which you own all the necessary rights. If a third party has claimed content in your video through Content ID, you may ask the content owner to whitelist your channel to facilitate future live streams and hangouts on air. So basically what YouTube is saying is, our system, it's not perfect.
But that's also true of their current video service. All of that stuff is also true of their current video service.
Absolutely.
Now it applies to live broadcast as well.
But there's a bit, but I think that's the big difference. Is it's not a huge deal if you do a video that's up forever. Whereas
it's always been a really sucky system in terms of like, well, the robot says you can't have it. So...
It's not their fault though. That's what the DMCA says. Like because they are treated as
it's software, isn't it? That's doing
it. But it's the law requires them to work that way because they are what's called a safe harbor.
You're guilty until proven innocent.
Basically, that's what the Digital Millennium Copyright Act actually says. It's basically it's all on the copyright holder. Like they have all the rights, and you can only respond, which kind of sucks, really. But it's not Google's fault. I mean, they do need to improve their Content ID service and the way that people can whitelist content, etc. But also, I think copyright holders need to get better at using it. This sucks for on YouTube gaming a bit, but it's also just the only way it's really going to work.
Yeah, and like it's a freshly launched thing, and stuff has teething issues. Like it'll improve.
Yeah,
and,
but
people also don't like new stuff, and they're like, "Oh, this sucks. I hate it," and then they'll go, "Oh, that's fine. Actually, I'm just going to watch League of Legends live."
But also the way it's phrased, because it's in like TOCs, because it's not phrased in a friendly way, because terms of service don't do that. Like it's here. It's saying, "Hey, you are like." It's done in almost legalese. Whereas if they were just like, hey, if you're going to do this, get the person's permission and get them to say that, yeah, your channel has rights to this content, is basically what they're saying. It's like, don't just go out there and be wild and crazy with third-party content. Get permission. However, the problem I can see coming here, which is something that already happens in YouTube videos, is when people have the music licensed. Or when there's licensed music in games, you're going to run into issues, guys. Yeah. I really see that happening quite a lot.
All racing and football games just immediately stopped.
Pretty much.
Don't stream Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, at least in football games, it's only on the menu screens. Whereas, which I always found weird that they were like, we need this soundtrack. Why? To play on menu screens. Okay, it seems like you've gone to a lot of effort here. Yes, that's why we've selected 4 songs that will loop endlessly. Oh, that seems worse than there being no song or just generic music. It's like, nope, we've selected songs from artists, but it's just going to annoy you. Great, thanks. But yeah, definitely racing games. Yep, Tony Hawk, you're fucked. Because that's like the whole point of Tony Hawk. It's not skateboarding. It's like, here's awesome music.
It's at least 75% of the point of Tony Hawk, for sure.
It's like, oh, cool, music I've never heard before. Sweet. Whereas
here's what I'm putting on my iPod, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, Tony Hawk is just an elaborate way for Tony Hawk to create mixtapes. It's like
he's not heard of Spotify playlists.
It's like no one is listening to these compilation CDs I'm putting out. I was gonna make a game. They'll listen then.
They will.
But yeah, I think that's probably enough of the news. Let's do what we did. YouTube gaming wasn't as interesting as I thought it was going to be. Just depressing slightly.
Ugh.
So about copyright claims. I think it's good that Twitch has competition. I think that's probably the main thing. Twitch has serious big name competition. There's services like Hitbox out there and stuff, but they're not. Most people
they're
don't
not
know
pulling
them.
in the numbers.
Yeah, people know what YouTube is, and way more people know what YouTube is than know what Twitch is. So it can only be a good thing. Definitely in attracting like a more casual audience, I reckon. But Kev, it's time for what we did. So press the what button. That is.
I will. Look, I've got that one.
So interestingly, Dave, talking about streaming, you need to talk about I Am Bread as a game that is awesome for streaming.
Yes.
Or
but
not necessarily
also,
awesome for streaming, but a game that's kind of built for streaming.
It is kind of built for the whole streaming scene and the whole playing with other people, watching and laughing at your stupidity. I actually put a video out on this game not that long ago. You can watch it. It's on the site.
Which site's that?
That would be TheSixthAxis.
.com?
.com, yes.
Oh, great.
But basically, it is a game that made me lose my mind as I was playing it.
Did you find it
from the creators of Alien Autopsy?
Was it down the back of the sofa?
Is it called Alien Autopsy?
Do you mean Surgeon Simulator?
Yeah,
I was about
Alien
to say.
Autopsy is that terrible film with Anton Deck.
No, it does have like an Alien Autopsy like DLC or something.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
But that also was
it's
a
Bossa
terrible film with Anton
Studios, but I think Just Add Water did the PS4 conversion, which is what I was playing. And to their credit, they've done a really good job in converting this piece of game to...
Piece of game?
I was about to say slice of game. I was like, no, the bread puns, they're coming back. But
Why would you not say slice of game?
I don't know. I stopped myself and I didn't quite know why. But yeah, I'm not a fan of it. The main problem is it's basically another version of what's it called? Oh, that Kelly Pigeon game where there's amazing dong physics. Mount Your Friends. That's the
Mount
one.
Your Friends. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically Mount Your Friends without the other players.
Mount Your Friends.
Have you not played Mount Your Friends?
I've not even heard of Mount Your Friends.
Go and have a look at Mount Your Friends.
Is it a video game or is it like
It is. It's genuinely a game.
I didn't know if it was just like a thing that people do.
No, well,
like a game.
Some people
it's
like
that
an adult
as
party
well.
game.
Some people definitely do that, but seriously, go and have a look at it and the amazing dong physics.
Right.
But it's the same principle with the controls, and it works in Mount Your Friends because you've got people to play with. Have you heard of QWOP, Kev?
Yes.
Right. Think QWOP, and that's basically the control scheme for Mount Your Friends.
What I was thinking with I Am Bread is it looks a bit like, not looks necessarily, but it looks like it feels a bit like Octodad in that it's
a lot more frustrating than Octodad was because the margin for error is so small. There's a point in the video where I'm trying to explain where people can go and see our review, and the slice of bread decides to go flying onto the floor, and I can't do anything about it because I'm panicking, trying to do two things at once, trying to get the bread back on the sofa, and it's just not working. So it's basically not my game. I did actually have a word with a few people afterwards about my experience on I Am Bread, and some people really dig it. And
it looks pretty fun from the trailer. I mean, I know that's what a trailer's meant to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's supposed to make it look like an absolute blast, but it is definitely, as Kris rightly pointed out, a game that you play with a YouTube audience or a Twitch audience. Right. It's definitely an interactive experience with backseat drivers, basically.
Right.
Well, it's even perfect for even with non-interactive stuff, just for like a let's play. It's just perfect for like a pre-tape let's play where it's you commentating on how weird the game is and laughing, basically. It's fine for that, but yeah, it's not a game that feels like it is built as a game.
It's not for everyone either, and I'll be honest, I actually, and I said this in the video and I still stand by it, Bossa Studios made me question my life choices just by playing that game.
Do you think will it work as a party game? I know it's only one person playing, but would it work if you had like the same kind of...
I would actually say it would.
I mean, Octodad obviously has multiplayer capabilities.
Yeah.
You can control legs each, which is even more ridiculous. But I kind of think it would have the same vibe where like people are just laughing at how ridiculous the things on the screen are.
Yeah, but again, your longevity with that game does depend on basically your the people that you're with. If you've got people who are like-minded and like that sort of thing, then absolutely you're going to have a blast with it. And fair play to you. But and as I said, this opinion is all subjective.
But you feel like it feels like you are very close to saying, if you're a sadist, you're going to fucking love this.
If you're a sadist, yeah, absolutely. Those are the exact words. If you are an absolute sadist who wants to get so frustrated you want to throw your controller at your TV, this is exactly the game for you.
All right. That was a very interesting verdict on that game. Let's move on. Kev, you and I have both watched Amazing Spider-Man 2 in the past
That is
week.
correct.
Hi guys, so we actually talked way more in depth about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 than we thought we would. So there are extensive spoilers now for that film and the first film until the 1 hour, 9 minutes and 30-second mark. But now here is the rest of the podcast.
Well, it is, at least for me. You might be lying.
I did watch it. I watched it last night, in fact. I was not overly impressed.
I ranged between being impressed and not impressed. That's sort of the range that I was in.
I feel the key thing with this movie is is it Sony or is it's Sony? Yeah, they learn no lessons from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, that seems fair.
They were
there was a lot of crammed in there that didn't need to be.
They're like, the thing people seem to really hate about Spider-Man 3 was how we put way too much into that film. So what if we just did that again? That seems like the thing to do, right? Yeah, cool. Let's do that, guys. Spider-Man has a fight scene at the beginning, which is fine, and so nothing really happens for maybe an hour.
Yeah,
and I guess then someone went, "Oh yeah, I guess maybe he should deal with some stuff as Spider-Man instead of being Peter Parker."
Yeah. It's weird because I don't know. I like Andrew Garfield as
he is
Spider-Man.
good.
I think he does well as in the role, and especially in Spider-Man role, his one-liners.
He is.
And stuff
it's great.
Are good.
It would just be way better if he was Spider-Man more.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think you're right though. It
was long. It was a long film, wasn't it? It was 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's
a long film, and I wouldn't mind it if it was lots of.
It just didn't need to be.
No.
At one point, Kate was like, "Oh, I thought the film was going to finish there," and it's like, "Nope, still going."
No.
Yeah.
What else didn't I like? Actually, do you know what I really did like though? And this is kind of a little bit of a spoiler for the first film, but have you seen the first film, Dave?
I don't care about the Amazing Spider-Man franchise.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
So I forget his name, but Captain Stacy, Gwen's dad. I kind of like that he's haunted by his death from the first film.
Yeah,
I actually thought that was really nice. Because
it is. Except I had no idea who the man that he was hallucinating about was, because I saw the Amazing Spider-Man 1 at the cinema and I haven't watched it since. And I was just like, "Who is this guy?"
It kind of needs a reference. And to be fair, the first time you see him, where he's in the police car next to him, which I will talk about that scene in a minute. But the first time he's there, I was like, "What the fuck is happening? Why is this a big thing?" I was like, "Wait, didn't that guy die? Oh wait, he's just hallucinating." Okay, so it does take a while. It take a little bit for me to realize. But yeah, I think it kind of needs a reference. It needs something. It needs him just to even say the guy's Captain Stacy or something like that. Just just for him to say it under his breath.
Yeah.
To be some hint like that, or just him talking to Peter and being like, "You're responsible for this." Just some.
This is your fault.
Yeah, something like that. But in that scene, so in that scene where Spider-Man is hanging on the front of a police car, that police car just basically runs him over, right? Do you remember that scene where there's he is on the hood basically of a police car, right on the front grille of it, taking a phone call from Gwen because he's in the middle of the road.
Right, yeah.
And then the police car basically hits him, and because he's Spider-Man, he clings on. But the police car does not slow down.
They're like, it's fine, it's Spider-Man, he can handle it.
Yeah, it's just, that felt like a very odd bit. The police car's he's probably fine.
My main point of contention in this scene particularly, and the film sort of more overall, is how super one-dimensional the characters are. I mean, I know it's comic book action, but
definitely,
those
correct.
Baddies in that scene are just haha, we're bad, we're robbing this plutonium, I guess, because that's what we do when we're bad.
that I really felt that was going to be a hook for something else, you know?
Yeah. That's just what baddies do, innit? Rob plutonium and drive it through downtown New
Just
York.
make it gold. Make it gold instead. Make it anything that's not just like, we're going to rob plutonium from Oscorp, because then A, Oscorp, and B, it's like it's dangerous because it might explode. It's like, this seems an odd target for you guys. Like this doesn't seem.
It just wasn't very smart. It was like I had written a superhero story.
It also, they then throw in some stuff later about them being from the Russian mob. So maybe we're like, oh, I guess the mob wanted the plutonium, but that doesn't ever come up again.
Yeah, no, that's not related. That's just because that's what baddies do, especially Russian baddies. They always want plutonium, don't they?
It's just, that's a fucking weird scene. That is, you are. It wasn't something I'd thought about, but yeah, you're right. It's like, we're bad guys with guns.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
The only way they could be more bad guyish is if they were wearing, top hats, having nefarious capes, having pencil mustaches that they're twirling around their fingers and going,
yeah. They are literally like that level of stereotype, though.
It's
so ridiculous. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. I made notes. So I made some notes about things I found ridiculous in this film.
Okay.
That bugged me. For a start, and I like having Gwen Stacy in there over having Mary Jane. I was actually really on board with that in the first one.
Yeah.
But the problem with Gwen Stacy is anyone who has read a comic book knows how that turns out.
Yeah.
So you're just waiting for that bit. You're like, well, it's going to happen at some point, right?
Yeah.
And then
is it a bit like listening to, just as a random example, The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, and then all of a sudden you're waiting for him to start playing Fire, that iconic 60s psychedelic thing, and you're just waiting. Yeah, that's the one. And you're just waiting, and the anticipation just bursts.
Pretty much, it's going to happen at some point. But then when it does happen, it's just like, yup, okay.
I can imagine half the audience are sort of shocked because they didn't see it coming, and then the other half of the audience who knew that it was coming were just like, "Hey!"
The other thing that's the thing that really annoys me right at the beginning, where all right, we need to deal with we've dealt with Peter Parker's backstory in the first film, so let's deal with the backstory of his parents now to open this second film. Let's open with boring exposition and backstory. This doesn't seem necessary.
I think that's okay because it was relevant later on.
It was relevant.
A callback to that same video.
No, I would definitely agree with you. It's relevant later on, but also it would have been fine if it wasn't in there, or if if that scene had not been the first 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah, that's true. There's a whole action sequence with
that feels
Thomas Parker or whatever his name
feels
is.
very unnecessary. And also this very simple fact that the very first thing in the film is he's doing some stuff and he's deleting some files and things, and he swipes his security card and he gets locked down, and you see the building going to lockdown, and then just it cuts to him walking out of the building.
I guess he escaped the lockdown.
It was just it seems like they're locked down.
Well, that's the end of that problem.
Yeah, he goes around the corner and he just walks out and just going, I guess, lockdown was very bad. It feels like there's a deleted scene in there of him.
Definitely.
Maybe I need to check the special features, because there'll be deleted scenes of the special features, and it's just, here's how he actually got out. Because as it stands, it goes from him walking around the corner of his lab to him walking out of the front of the parking car park. Just being like, it's fine. Here we are. Yeah. Cool. That doesn't. No. It seems like because he does. You're like, oh, cool. Oscorp have got super advanced security procedures and stuff. That's cool. Oh, I guess he was fine then.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is Amazing Spider-Man 2 worse than the other Marvel non-Marvel film that came out?
What do you mean?
As in Fantastic.
Oh, it's way better than that.
Fantastic Four is
this film has bad bits
cinematic
in it.
Dirt, right? I mean, I haven't seen it, but it's
really bad. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is it's not good, but it's it's fine.
It's an acceptable comic book movie. If the Marvel Cinematic Universe didn't exist and hadn't pushed the standards high, you'd be like, yeah, okay, cool.
You would never be like, this is a really enjoyable movie.
Oh my god, guys, you have to see The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's never going to happen.
But you'd just be like, I guess this is stuff. Cool.
Yeah, I didn't hate it at all. It was a nice way to spend a rainy Sunday afternoon with Kate. And
it's fine. it's just, it's definitely not good. It's not a film that I would be like, yes, this is a very good film. I really enjoy, but I would be like, oh yeah, I guess Spider-Man.
So there was also a bit where, we should talk about Electro, played by
we should.
Jamie Foxx.
I just want to nitpick over a few things first, and then we'll actually talk about the important stuff in the film. There's just stupid things I want to nitpick over. Firstly,
someone like you, Kris.
In the car chase scene right at the beginning, the cops are just fucking awful, right?
Yeah.
That scene, the car chase ends with literally like a 40-car pileup that's all police cars.
Yeah.
And he was just one day away from retirement.
I just go, this is what? How? And also, I'm watching that scene going, how did you even like set this scene up? Because it looks like fucking the puzzle pieces coming together. It seems like that was a really awkward scene for them to set up a load of even just fake cars. Seems like that was inconvenient for them to arrange.
Yeah.
Let alone how that would happen in the real world.
But like some of the 40-odd cars that are hitting the pile-up by the end of it must have been quite near the back of the...
Why are you still going?
A pile-up
just stop.
happening. Just slow down a little bit. Is that a pile-up?
Yeah.
No, let's just go full speed just to check. Yeah, no, it was a look. Now we're in it. So yeah, it was one.
There's also a bit where the guys are seeing the plutonium, which leads up to like the fun scene where Spider-Man's like catching all of the vials and stuff, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the computer's like, warning, violation of protocol. So do you maybe want to just like automatically close the door or something, computer? No, I mean, you're violating protocol, and these are super explosive, but it's fine.
What I didn't really get was why is the computer like what's talking? Like they're just opening a case of stuff. When do they have voices?
No, because it is like computerized and stuff. I think there's like a little panel or something. But
it felt like a lot of the way through that film there was like talking computers.
To be fair, there are a lot of talking computers in that film. That is accurate. It wasn't something I'd thought about before, but it's weird. Yeah, there's a lot of talking computers in there.
Same within the in the Electro origin scene. There's like a talking computer in there.
Yeah.
It's just like, warning, the eels aren't very happy or whatever. It's not saying that, but it's just like...
Warning, the eels may just attack.
Yeah.
Nobody's working up here. Like, why is the voice...
Yeah.
What, is it just talking to itself most of the time?
Yeah.
Like, who's that for?
Warning, I am so lonely.
The other thing I did want to pick up on that was actually awesome was the... we don't get a lot of web slinging in this film. But the bit right at the beginning, where it's kind of like almost GoPro-esque, was just really awesome. Where it's kind of shot as if there's a camera in his torso kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
That's a really cool scene. That actually looked awesome.
Like there were some brilliant special effects the whole way through the film. In fact, like all of Electro's
the Electro looks absolutely impeccable.
Yeah.
Like for a guy whose powers are electricity based, it would be really easy for it to be super bad, right?
Just like like sparking.
But
like
it feels very realistic
lightning.
the way his powers are set out. Like the look to them looks like
it's got a little bit of Infamous in it, which you'd expect, but more the Neon Girl than
definitely
the original
definitely
Infamous Electricity.
But it just never looks stupid, right? It never looks dumb. It always looks like, and also every time you see him doing it, like that's what like that's kind of. Because they've very clearly modelled it on lightning bolts, etc. But you're like, that's kind of how electricity moves, right? It doesn't move in a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like jagged patterns and stuff. And it looks really cool because of it. They've done it in a smart way. But let's talk about Electro. Let's talk about the fact that he gets a lot of unnecessary backstory as well. It's like, I guess there's this throwaway villain.
Yeah.
Probably only going to be in this one film. I guess we should do like a lot of stuff with him, right? Yeah, let's do a lot of him. Wow, there's a lot of Electro.
And again, like the writing seems a bit ham-fisted. Like, oh well, he's obsessed with Spider-Man.
Yeah,
at that time,
because
Spider-Man recognized him.
Spider-Man talked to him one time. Now he's
yeah.
super obsessed.
Like he couldn't have gone through his life with nobody talking to him.
The other thing that really bugs me though in it is because they give you so much backstory, it's clearly identified that this is a very careful, very smart guy, and then the scene where he becomes Electro is completely counter.
Yeah, I'll
to
just
every
climb
single
up on
element.
this thing and
like every single element we have seen previous to that of him in the film is him being like very careful, very safe. Like, I look at all these electricity plants and know exactly what I'm doing with the electrics. I'm perfect. there's a scene where the power goes out and he knows like exactly what circuit breaker it is. And you're like, oh, cool, this is the guy who knows his way around electricity. And he's like, then he radios down to the guy and the guy goes, nah, I'm not going to turn the power for you. And then
he goes, well, I'll just probably fix it anyway with all that electricity.
I'll fix it while it's live. Yeah. It'll probably be fine, won't it?
I mean, I know electricity very well. So, it'll probably give me, a nice wide berth because we're friends, electricity and me.
That's just dreadful. That's awful.
When you said that Electro is obsessed with Spider-Man, is he as obsessed with Spider-Man as Edward Nygma was with Bruce Wayne in Batman?
Kind of that type thing.
Forever.
Yeah, kind of like that.
So it's not even original. They just stole it from a film from like a decade and a half ago.
No, because it's kind of different. It's a lot. He actually feels a lot crazier than the Jim Carrey version of the Riddler did. Like his
more crazy than Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
Are you aware of what you're saying here?
It's just because of the way he's presented. You see him in his apartment, and basically like, all the walls are covered in Spider-Man like posters and bits from stuff. And I don't mean just like his bedroom. Like he's in the bathroom, and there's a picture of Spider-Man there in the bathroom next to the mirror. It is, and he's talking to all these pictures as if they're actually Spider-Man, and talking to them as if he is hearing responses from the pictures. It's pretty hardcore crazy. And he gets like angry at them at one point. It's very odd. But I do like, actually, what I did really like is in how that kind of obsession and the fact that Spidey had met him before plays into their first confrontation. I actually thought that was a very well done scene. Yeah,
I did too, actually, because it's not often that you see them the goodie and the baddie just going like, hang on, maybe this is just a big misunderstanding. Like,
yeah, Spider-Man goes, this is clearly a misunderstanding. Everyone chill and don't shoot the guy.
Police, stop. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Also, as the police in all movies are like, well, shooting him appears to be having no effect. Probably keep shooting him.
Just do some more, do some more of that. It was nice as well because I've now been to Times Square, and so that was, interesting too. Because like there's the steps that get electrified. Like some red steps.
Yeah.
And I've been up those. So that was like, I've been there. I could be being electrocuted by Electro right now.
But then there's like all the scenes of him where he's he gets captured after that. And then for some reason they just like, I'll probably take him to Oscorp.
Oh my God. Another example of super lazy characterization. Yeah. Like a German scientist for no reason. He's just like a sort of mad scientist guy who's like, I will make you have the electric powers, yeah? And it's like, what are you... Come on, really?
Yep. Boy, is it weird.
Just lazy writing. We've got Russian baddies stealing plutonium and driving through New York with it.
Yeah,
like mad electric scientist guy who
just
German,
so happens to be German.
Yeah,
all mad scientists are German. Yeah,
and also I gotta say, this film really does feel like they have stitched together like bits of three completely different films.
Well, like you said, it really suffered in exactly the same way that Spider-Man 3 did, and they go, well, maybe one baddie is not enough. Maybe we should do more. Just like more baddies.
Yeah.
What else is in Spider-Man's back catalogue? Cool.
But there's like
the difference. Sorry, go ahead.
There's whole sections of that film that are just like, oh, we wrote a rom-com by mistake. So we accidentally wrote a rom-com script, but I'll probably keep that. Keep bits of that. It's fine. Oh, we also wrote this whole film about him battling Electro. We'll keep that as well. Oh, and then we wrote this other script about Harry Osborn. We'll keep those bits as well, but then just stitch them together in a random order.
It's funny that you compare it to Spider-Man 3 in the sense, because when I think they interviewed Sam Raimi shortly after that film absolutely tanked, and he said that he didn't actually want to write the bit with Venom because, and the only reason they did it is because I think it was something along the lines of fan demand, basically, that they wanted to see Venom.
Yeah.
Whereas the story he wanted to tell was about Sandman.
Yeah.
And you could tell because that was the most fleshed out part of the film. And then for some reason there was whole Oscorp stuff again.
Yeah, boy, there's a lot of Oscorp stuff in this. Man.
Is there dancing?
There's no dancing. No.
No dancing. Oh.
There's an entire another storyline about corporate espionage. There's a lot of storylines in this film. There's like I would say subplots, but I'm not sure which one is not the subplot. I'm not sure which plot is the core plot. Which one is it, Kev? Is there a core plot of the film?
I don't know. Hey, I've just had a thought.
What?
So obviously, MCU is getting Spider-Man at some point.
Yes.
In the future. But do you know what I've just realised?
What?
Daredevil is MCU, despite being a
Yes.
completely different flavour and tone, which means that Kingpin and Spider-Man can meet,
Yeah, they can.
Ooh.
which is cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, because like that's his main man, right? That's his arch.
No, I would say Green Goblin is his arch enemy, really.
Jim.
I think
Yeah,
it's
like,
a
but-
mixture between the two because Green Goblin's certainly classic Spider-Man, but Kingpin was definitely a big thing in the 90s.
If you're watching like the 90s cartoon, then it is the Kingpin. That's the thing you would get. But
Yeah.
because the Green Goblin is a much lesser villain in that. But
Yeah,
to me,
to be fair, I am just getting all of my knowledge from the 90s cartoon.
yeah,
so.
for me, Kingpin has very much always been a Daredevil villain, and Green Goblin
Also,
is a
the
Spider-Man one.
tone that they've set with Daredevil on the Netflix series probably doesn't mesh all that well with
Yeah.
like. How...
I need to
well,
watch
I mean,
that,
I have no
actually.
idea how they.
But I mean, if you look
do
at
watch it.
but I mean, if you look at the version of Kingpin that is in those 90s cartoons, he's a lot more kind of fantastical than the version of Kingpin we see in comics or in like
just in
any
sheer
other
proportion.
yeah
if nothing else.
any other interpretation of him is kind of not really like that. And that's because he's kind of like a Daredevil. Because not most, but a lot of Daredevil villains are quite they are meant to be quite gritty, and he is. He's basically just he's a mob boss. That's all he really is. He's just a mob boss.
I really like Daredevil
With a lot of money.
He's just got a bunch of money that he's really good at hiring assassins.
I've got a problem. Let's throw money at it and see if
Yeah.
it goes away.
Oh, good, it did. Excellent.
Yeah.
Or it didn't, and then I had to just beat someone's head in with a door to solve it. There we go. Yeah, but it would be cool. I think it's going to be interesting. We start to get this Netflix series crossing over. That's the thing that would be great. The other thing I would point out about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is if you think, like, because a big complaint of Spider-Man 3 as well was Venom is introduced super late in that film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the final
And
villain.
completely incorrectly as well.
Oh, yeah. But if we want to talk about the final villain in this film, wow, the final villain in this film was introduced late in the game.
So this was the point that Kate was like, I thought the film had finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They pack an entire... there's like an entire another film that they pack into here. There's like the whole... Is it in Spider-Man 2 where he gives up being Spider-Man for a bit? I think it's Spider-Man 2, right? It's like a classic Spider-Man story where it's like, I don't want Spider-Man now. But yeah, the end of the film involves him not being Spider-Man for a bit, and then being and then the fucking Rhino turns up, and he's like, oh, I guess I'll be Spider-Man again now. And this is literally the last 5 minutes of the film. This is like, we have seen a finale scene with a fucking grave.
They
There's
didn't
a whole
like,
cemetery.
if they wanted it to be and
Wow.
Spider-Man's back on his feet, they didn't need to go like, oh, here's another one from like Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. Like
Yeah.
they could just do him like web swinging into New York. Like
Yeah,
they didn't
it'd
need
be
to-
fine.
Well, you
Yeah,
know
they-
why they did that, don't you? It's for the trailers.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's also because they were clearly going to. The end
Yeah,
to the
there's a-
film
there's-
really explicitly sets up a Sinister Six film.
Yeah, like well, here's all
Really?
their costumes.
So it's
Yeah,
the sixth
so-
film that will never come to
No,
fruition.
But like, wow, it's not even like vaguely subtle. It's like,
No.
here is Dr. Octopus's arms.
Yeah, because there is at one point a subtle view of the arms, and I pointed
and
out
you're
to Kate. I was
and you're
like,
oh, that's
there's
really cool. And they
yeah,
come
and
back
then
to
later
it
on, they
later
just
on.
like pan slowly past all of the costumes.
That's
Okay,
amazing.
cool.
That is an amazing part of the film because it just made me go, oh, fuck you, Sony. Just fuck you. Wow, you were trying to build
we
this
might
in.
have to give a spoiler warning for this whole.
Yeah.
Spider-Man
I don't
talk,
know. I
because
don't think we've been particularly spoilerific. But yeah,
Kind of.
we've been reasonably, but not. Yeah, I'll
But I
put
don't care.
I'll put a little
'cause
bit.
I've not seen it and I
Yeah.
don't care.
I don't think we've been very explicit about like any major points in the film. Just there are we spoiled the very end of the film, but the very end of that film deserves to be spoiled for being fucking terrible.
spoils itself.
Wow, is it bad?
Mm.
Um.
And anything else that's probably been spoiled was probably done in the comics anyway. So.
Also, do you feel, Kev, that Aunt May is at the conversation Aunt May and Peter have towards the end? Aunt May is like half a sentence away from saying, Jesus Christ, you're fucking Spider-Man. Go and be Spider-Man. I know you're Spider-Man.
Yeah. And then they just leave it.
Yeah. She's so close. Just being like, Peter, you're clearly Spider-Man. Like, you live in the house.
Did you say? She's like, oh, well, we've all got secrets that we keep.
It's
like how yours is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And mine's like your parents.
She's so close. Oh boy, it's pretty. It's not even really subtext. Because
she figured it out because of the laundry.
Yeah. Because she literally has laundry in her hand and she's talking about how she was cleaning the house and stuff. And you're like, okay, well, she's clearly going to say that he's Spider-Man. And she's like, and then I was just clearing out some of your uncle's things. So, okay, I guess. All right. And then Peter just goes, I need to go not be Spider-Man now. Definitely not Spider-Man. So I'm just going to go.
Peter, I live with Spider-Man. I think I know, like.
Yeah. Well, it's the classic thing that he always comes in the window.
Yeah.
And she's like, but you definitely didn't come into the house. I was in the house the whole time. Yeah. How are you in your world?
And then you were here again.
Yeah.
That's weird, isn't it?
They're one step away from being on Jerry Springer.
It's just, wow, it's so close. Yeah. Also, I'm going to definitely put spoiler warning in. All the stuff in the shed. Where he's like, I'm going to experiment with electricity. Aunt May should probably have come and checked that out.
Peter, it's just like literally all the electrics in the house have just gone out like 6 times.
You keep exploding stuff and setting it on fire.
It seems the power company. They're saying there's no blackouts.
Yeah. What was the other thing that really pissed me off?
Well, in that vein, because Peter's like a sort of fairly sciencey genius kid, right? Yeah. And then he's just talking to Gwen, and she's like, "Oh, what about magnets?" And he's like, "Magnets, yes, that fundamental scientific thing
great.
that I hadn't thought to try."
Yeah. But the other bit I really like, I really like this, is because it's in the first film as well. They do show like hiding bases like in the subway system, because that's definitely like Kurt Connors' base was definitely in like a hidden subway thing, right, in the first film.
Yes.
And in this one, he's like, "Yeah, my dad hid a whole train down here. Don't worry about it." Like he somehow had the resources to break into a long abandoned subway station and hide a secret train under the train tracks that only activates when you spin a turnstile that goes nowhere.
And also, like he was able to like create the mechanism that hides a train in a subway under the rails
by himself, presumably.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe I guess Oscorp could have helped with that, couldn't they?
But then Oscorp would be like, "Oh, we know where your secret base is then."
That is true.
Probably go investigate that secret. We did help Parker build that secret place once. Do you want to investigate it? Nah,
it's fine.
It's probably fine.
Yeah, he's probably not used it, to be honest.
So I think the overall verdict is, if this film was just about Electro, it would have actually been pretty great. But it's not. It's about like 8 other things as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be about any of them.
There is way too much going on and way too much lazy writing for the not large characters. And then too much writing for the larger characters in some respects.
Yeah. Oh, I do have to say, the one thing I did not mention, but I both loved and hated, is how little foreshadowing the Green Goblin gets.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just the Green Goblin now.
Yeah.
What?
Surprise!
Yeah, he's just here. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's like, yeah, he's just he didn't know anything, and now he is running a glider.
Yeah, because you don't need training for that, do you?
Yeah, it just happens.
Fine.
Boy, it's fucking dumb. That is a super dumb scene.
With all of this said, I didn't have a terrible time.
Actually, I was like, this film's kind of fine, but there's a lot of fucking stupid stuff in it, and it is probably like 40 minutes too long.
Yeah, as long as you can just leave your brain at the door and just go, cool, action, Spider-Man stuff. Yeah.
I feel that that's a film, like, even I, as someone who has no experience in making films, I could recut that film into a better film.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take a lot. You're just like, I'm going to take out all there's just like, if you categorize it into types of scenes, like, well, I should just take out all these types of scene. There we go.
Fixed it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Spoilers end. You want to talk about Giana sisters, Dave?
Yeah, it's
Giana?
either pronounced Giana or Giana. I still don't know.
See, I would have gone with a hybrid. Giana was how I said it in my brain. Giana
maybe.
sisters.
So
You said, is this another game that's good for streaming?
no.
What's it about?
This is not good for anything. This game.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
at least Iron Bread is good
wow.
for that streaming whole streaming business and playing with friends and in a party setting, maybe.
That way you said that made it sound like you were about 70. That whole streaming business.
The whole streaming scene. Yes. No, Giana Sisters is just. I really like Giana Sisters Twisted Dreams, which is the game that they released before. It's basically a 2D platformer.
Yes, I remember that one.
You remember
you were
it?
like a devil and an angel girl or something, weren't you?
Sort of. It's sort of. I think it's like a different personality thing, and you switch to different planes on the fly and that sort of thing. But you got the general idea. And that was a really good 2D platform. I mean, for a franchise that was basically a knockoff Super Mario Brothers, to evolve into something like that was actually a really, really impressive feat. Dream Runners? No. It's basically Speed Runners, the game, with a little bit of Twisted Dreams in there. And it's just terrible. It's got no redeeming qualities aside from the music, which they just reused from Twisted Dream. So, but I have a feeling that this is a standalone version of the multiplayer component that they put as added DLC into Twisted Dreams. So, if you want to play that, you may find it on Twisted Dreams instead. And that's the far better game, because this is a miserable, miserable time. It doesn't even work properly. I mean, there was a point where I'm racing against bots because no one's playing this thing online, which is the main problem. Games like that live and die by the fact that no one is playing the game. And it's a multiplayer-only game. Unless you use bots. And if you use bots, they're either really, really, really easy, using items in the exact same point of every map, or they're really, really difficult and you actually have a bit of a challenge. But the problem is the pathfinding on vertical scrolling is a bit weird to the point where, let's say you're ahead and you go up a part of the level, and you get to a point where you have to go back down. If the other players are at the top and you're at the bottom and you're technically ahead, you're eliminated if you go off the screen.
That is irritating.
It's happened to me multiple times, but it also happened to the AI, which I found even funnier.
That's actually quite funny. Yeah. The AI was like, I guess... The
AI is doing its best to try and get away from me, and it managed to eliminate itself, even though it was ahead. So, I just don't know what happened with this. I mean, and the main thing, the icing on the cake, is the fact that it's actually relatively expensive for a standalone package of a multiplayer mode. So, it's really not worth your time. The review's on TheSixthAxis, so you can have a look at that and you can possibly make your own judgment. But I've got 1,000 gamer points on it, and to be honest, I felt like I barely did anything with it. But I've seen everything and I've done everything.
That's a shame.
I did play something good though, but we'll get onto that in a bit.
What do you want to do? Because we are running a little long this week. So what did you want to chat about quickly?
I was playing Mega Man 2.
Oh yeah, you did. You put that in. So what? Mega Man 2 is a good game. I mean, it's a while
classic.
ago.
I mean,
yeah.
So the Mega Man Legacy Collection, is it out now? I think it's either out now or coming very, very imminently. But it's basically the first 6 Mega Man games from the NES era, and Mega Man 2 is one of my favourite games of all time. So last night I was just sat there playing Mega Man 2 and loving every minute of it.
Oh. Mega Man 2 is pretty great. Do like Mega Man 2.
I still get the heebie-jeebies when I see that dragon. Such a good fight.
I don't really know what else to say. I mean, Mega Man is pretty awesome, but
Apart
I don't
from
know if I've
Mega
ever
Man
played
8.
a Mega Man game.
did you just want to talk about something that gave you joy in your heart?
Yeah, I mean, at least I Am Bread was amusing for the first few minutes. Giana Sisters was just miserable, so I needed something that I could talk about that I was actually genuinely happy about. I wanted to get into my happy place, and apparently Mega Man 2 is my happy place.
It definitely is. All right. Well, with that, we'll say it's probably question time in that case.
Question time.
First question comes from Mr. Bell Teacher, in fact. After sinking 50 hours into Neverwinter on Xbox One for free, which do you think are the best free-to-play games at the minute and why?
Which
For the
three
Xbox
games are the
One,
best
or
to play at the
just
minute?
free to play in general?
Free-to-play, I think in general.
Hmm.
Do you know what I'm really looking? So I didn't have a chance to talk about it, but it's a game I've been playing a lot. That is, I think it's free to play. The new Pac-Man 256 game.
By the Crossy Road creators.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's just like Pac-Man, but Pac-Man's awesome. But it's like endless Pac-Man.
Endless Runner Pac-Man.
Yeah, it's pretty great, and it's like not really obnoxiously free to play. It's got like a credit system, but there's a mode you can play with credits that has power-ups in it. But if you want to play a mode that is power-upless, apart from obviously like the traditional Pac-Man power pellets, you still have them. But you can play that, and that doesn't cost you any credits. So that's pretty nice. It doesn't seem to have any ad support either, so I'm very much in favour of that. It's that's like it's a game that is free to play in the very traditional sense of like, oh, it is just free to play, and then it's not like a game where we would think of free to play and when you think of all the monetization mechanics on top of that, because it doesn't really do a lot of that. Because to be fair, like Crossy Road didn't really do a lot of it either, and I think that those are the best. Those are the games that people really like because they are fun to play, and the fact that they have some monetization in them doesn't get in the way of actually playing the game, whereas too often it does. What else am I liking at the minute that might be free?
Well, I would still say that Mountain Goat Mountain that I spoke about a few podcasts ago is very good. It's a very good free one.
Sling Kong as well. That's pretty good.
Are there any that are non-iOS that you would say?
I don't know. I can't think of anything I really play that's free to play. I've got. I haven't played it because I did that a little while ago. The Dead or Alive Final Round, I think is what it's called.
Isn't that basically Dead or Alive 5, but with 2 characters or something?
It's got weird free-to-play mechanics in it, and I can't remember, because I say I haven't played it, because one of my friends was like, oh, I really like Dead or Alive. Can you get Dead or Alive? And I'll come around and play it. And then they came around, but we didn't actually play it. So we watched films instead. But yeah, like that's... I think, and also there was a version of Tekken on the last generation that was similar, but I've got no idea. I can't comment them. I will say what it was really bad on consoles. It was a terrible free-to-play game. Was the Ace Combat I think it was Ace Combat Infinity was what it was called. That was pretty dreadful. Like it was very convoluted free-to-play mechanics that I didn't understand at all. And I was like, well, I don't understand what I am paying you money for. Therefore, I don't want to give you the money. Yeah, that got weird and complicated. Like, really. Your free-to-play mechanics should not confuse people. The way you're trying to monetize your thing should not leave you being like, I don't understand what I'm paying for. That's not a good thing, because then I won't pay for it.
The only free-to-play game that I've even had a relative amount of experience in are, like, the MOBAs that are out there, so Dota, Smite.
And they're pretty good though, because again, they're also like not egregious. They're kind of just like, hey, you can buy stuff if you want to buy stuff.
You can buy some characters in Smite, and that's basically how you do things. Or you use characters on a rotation. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, exactly. I would say, I was going to say Hearthstone as well for similar reasons. In like, you can go into like those games are much harder to play, free to play.
Oh, definitely.
But you can go in without spending a penny.
You can, but I really want to do it. I actually bought my first few boosters of Hearthstone with actual money because of the whole new expansion that just came out, the Grand Tournament, which has some absolutely ridiculous cards. I didn't get any of the ridiculous like legendaries or anything like that, but some of the stuff in that set is combo. As a former Magic player, or even as a Magic player, because I still play Magic: The Gathering, the fact that you can do these silly little combos in Hearthstone now, it just appeals to me so much more. I'm actually going to spend some more money on some Hearthstone cards.
That's good. That again, that's a good way of monetizing it, because it's built around like the mechanic of the game making you want to spend more money. And like you say, like, you're probably not going to have a great time, but you can play that game without spending money if you want to.
You can, but the deck that I currently run is a completely bonkers Shaman deck that just explodes out the gate, smacking people for good knows how much damage with double Wind Fury creatures. It doesn't always win, but when it does, it's so satisfying.
Yeah, that's cool. Mr. Bolditch would also like to know if we have any tips for someone just starting out on Destiny. Don't, I think, would be our tip.
No.
My tip would be talk to Vicky_VIXX on Twitter.
Yeah, that'll do it. She knows what she's talking about.
She's probably got a couple of things to tell you about it.
I can't see what your name. Brav_Chan says, if you could add the I Am Bread gameplay to any other game, what would you think would benefit from it?
Weird.
That is an interesting question.
A hard question to answer. They're not weird. Weird sounds derogatory.
But I assume they're talking about like the kind of.
I don't really know what the gameplay is.
But no, but I think they're talking the same kind of like weirdly super physicsy stuff that's also in that was in Surgeon Simulation. Is also in QWOP. I assume is what they're kind of talking about, right?
Yeah. I mean,
actually, Destiny, to combine it with the last question.
Our first person shooter would be like unplayable.
Just keep falling over.
Yeah.
Just have the aiming mechanics just be like, oh, well, you have to hold your gun steady before you can shoot, and then
you just get individual controls over bicep and tricep on left and right arm, and you've got to do your best to shoot.
Do you know what I actually think? Like, although it is done, I forgot what it's called now. The octopus game we talk about.
Octodad.
Sorry.
Catch,
yeah, Octodad.
Subtitle.
I think that is actually a really good use of that kind of thing, of that kind of gameplay. I think that's probably the best example, I would say, of that kind of like ridiculous. What's the probably good way of putting it? I guess it's like giving you too much control of the character, kind of thing. Like instead of, as in most games, being like, yes, you have animations to do stuff for you. It's just, no, you are doing it all.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of thing is, I think that's the perfect game for it, really. That kind of just silly, stupid game, but where you are given an incredibly basic task of basically just navigating. Can you navigate the world where you have to explicitly control all your limbs?
You know what I would really like to see, actually, thinking about it? A game that's actually very similar to I Am Bread, but in a more fantastical setting. Shadow of the Colossus. Because it's got the same grip mechanic.
That'd be interesting. Okay.
So, like, going on the horse, you have to basically steady your horse or something like that. And then when you finally get to the Colossus, you have to climb on the Colossus. They should totally do a mod for it where you're just basically playing a level of
Jesus
Shadow
Christ.
of the Colossus, climbing the Colossus as he's trying to swat you away.
That would be cool. I'd be on board with that.
That would be more fun, actually.
I'd like to clarify Kevling earlier. He said when he said hello, he said to hello to everyone except Lewis, which is good because Lewis isn't here this week. We didn't mention that. He didn't tell us why he's not here. He's just not.
Yeah.
They just said, I can't come this week, and that was it. The Therapist Gamer, I'm not ignoring your question, but we kind of talked about YouTube gaming earlier.
I have a question that's been sent to me specifically.
All right.
From James Coleman.
Okay. Is this someone you know personally, or?
Yes, it is. He says...
Would you like to know why there aren't quizzes anymore? Is that why you were offering to do a quiz earlier?
No, he wouldn't. I just thought that might be nice.
Oh.
He said, when are they going to make an offline multiplayer version of Brothers? That is specifically Brothers: A Tale of Two, whatever.
Is that not already offline multiplayer?
It is offline.
It's single controller multiplayer.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So you play as each brother with one controller, but he wants to be just individually controlling the brothers, and that would be an awesome offline multiplayer experience. And I agree.
Like 2 different pads.
Yes, just like a more traditional multiplayer.
That'd be
experience.
Good. That seems like that'd be very easy to. That kind of feels like that was. That kind of feels like that is almost an explicit decision.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the gameplay mechanic of that game is you have to control them at the same time. But actually, it would be a completely different game, but it's also enjoyable if you could play it together. As
but I also think you could play it together.
Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
I think you can play it together, just not like as long as you're willing to like cuddle up to the person.
Yeah, that's true.
As long as you like them. But that would be good actually. Yeah, I'd be on board with that.
Yeah, I really like that game. I finished that game.
Also, in the same vein, in Never Alone as well, because you got the character switching. I think that would be interesting if you could explicitly play as.
Isn't Never Alone the Foxy one?
Is there co-op in it?
Is that the Foxy one?
Yeah,
because I played that with.
Is there co-op? Oh, yeah. So I've only played it by myself because no one likes me. But I didn't know that had co-op in it, so I've only played single player stuff. It was a while ago, so I'd forgotten. But yeah, that game then. I think Brothers would kind of be quite similar to that in that case. Johnny Smith says, "Hi chaps, question: could PlayStation TV have been a rival to Apple TV, Roku, and the like?" Yes, I did buy one, and I'm disappointed. I don't think so because they were going for a very different market. I guess maybe it could have been if they'd wanted it to be, but their idea wasn't to be like a streaming box, really. Like
they got rid of the whole PlayStation Mobile thing shortly before its release or shortly after.
Yeah, but their idea was just to let you play Vita games. Like that's all they wanted. Like they could have easily done that. I would imagine. I imagine that wouldn't be too difficult to add to a thing that's powerful enough to play Vita stuff. But they just didn't. Could it have been if they tried? I think it could have been. But I also think it is then much harder to market.
I reckon they targeted the wrong people with that. What they should have done is targeted, going back onto the whole YouTube scene, all the streamers, but they took out the one thing that would actually make PlayStation Vita games easily streamable, which is the ability to capture the footage on PlayStation Vita. So they've basically shot themselves in the foot because a large demographic of people who want to take video footage can't easily do it anymore.
Exactly.
So, so all they've got left are the people who don't have that much money anyway, who are just going to save up for a PS4 when it comes out. Yeah.
But would I personally think if they'd gone the more streaming route with it, that's a much more competitive marketplace. And much harder to get into. Even if you're like, oh, we've got games too, it's still like it's a much harder thing to compete with. If you're kind of go, because that's not how they market the PS4, is it? They don't say, hey, we are like you can stream Netflix stuff. It's like you can play games and also Netflix. But I think with the way the price point of that, they would be trying to go up against like Chromecasts and like Amazon Fire Sticks, etc., and would lose that battle heavily. So I think they were probably safer to steer away from the streaming stuff, although it would be good. Justinum says, is it too late to say hello? No, it's not. And then finally we had an email, and this is the one I mentioned earlier that I was just trying to reply to. So this is quite interesting. This is from a guy called Joel Revelez. And he says he's a teacher, 7th grade math teacher, in fact. And he said, last year, I taught a lesson when Mojang was bought out by Microsoft. I was inspired by your podcast. And basically it was the one where we talked about, I wasn't on it, but you and Lewis and Peter were, Kev. Mm-hmm. It was the one where Mojang got bought out and you talked about how many jets, mansions, etc. you could buy with $2.5 billion. He was just wanting to find the episode, which I found from him and got email him back in a minute. But I just thought it was quite interesting that we actually inspired someone to teach a lesson.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a new benchmark for us, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
a new milestone, I should say.
I'm not entirely sure you should be using us as inspiration. Like,
hey, who are we to decide who we inspire? You know, we're just saying words and hoping it makes a difference in this crazy world.
are we?
No.
I think the next step is to have actual, full-on games in the classroom, as in proper video games, and teaching lessons from that, which I know some schools are doing. So
no, I think the next step is literally playing this podcast to your students.
Oh no,
never.
They'll be sitting there going, "But I haven't watched Amazing Spider-Man yet."
Tough. You should have. I set it as homework.
Yeah.
Don't never play this podcast to students. It's a terrible idea. You will get fired. Unless you are like teaching university age students, it's probably fine. But don't, like, for 7th grade math. No, no, that's bad. That's very bad. But we do appreciate that email. I will get back to you. You probably have had an email before this podcast is available. But I find it very weird, but also very
touching.
Yeah, touching, I guess, is a good word. That you were inspired by us being ridiculous idiots.
Yeah,
which we are constantly. That's gonna wrap it up for this week's episode. If you'd like to get previous episodes, you can go to TheSixthAxis.com. You can go to YouTube. You can go to iTunes. You can go to whatever podcast app you're using. You know all the ways by now. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at podcast@TheSixthAxis.com. You can tweet us at TSA Podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with us personally, you can get me on Twitter, Hal Pro. That's HALB Pro. You get Kev's Kevin 400, and you can get Dave as Dave _Irwin, which is IRWIN. Which double underscore is it's never a good look, Dave.
It's not a good look.
The sole underscore was already taken, so
and no underscore's taken as well.
Yeah,
sickening.
Swines. Sickening behaviour.
You should just go like me and just not have your name.
I could do.
Yeah. And also, like, I was never going to get at Kris, was I?
No.
Never know.
Even if it is a funny spelling.
It is a weird spelling. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. So say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The Sixth Axis Podcast.